aren't you? What is so special about this sea? A sea is a sea. It's the same everywhere.
Is that so? What direction is the sea?
In Israel, the sea is always in the west.
There you have it. Here, the sea is in the north. It's because Jaffa lies in the bay. And it's no ordinary sea. See those rocks over there? Those are Andromeda's rocks. She was beautiful, a real princess. Except that her mother, Cassiopeia, annoyed the god of the sea, who then decided to send a sea monster to destroy Jaffa. I know the sea. When the sea is angry, nothing can stand against it. In order to reconcile the gods, they decided to chain Andromeda to the rock.
What? And did the monster take her?
No, a young man. Perseus, they called him. He flew into the sky, saw Andromeda chained to the rock, so he fought the monster and rescued her.
And how do you know that all this is true?
It's an ancient tale that is being told from generation to generation. And at night, when I go out to sea from the harbor, there on the right I pass by those rocks and look up to the stars in the sky. Sometimes I see the stars of Andromeda and Cassiopeia, remember? Her mother who started it all.
Do you go out to the sea from the harbor of Jaffa every night?
The harbor of Jaffa is famous all around the Mediterranean Sea. Through here, thousands of people immigrated to Israel. Tourists, pilgrims, leaders. Almost everyone who wanted to come to Jerusalem came through the Jaffa harbor.
And the rocks? Ships may bump into them.
That's right. And indeed, many ships did bump into them and sank. The most horrible event happened 2,000 years ago, when the Jewish people rebelled against the great Romans who ruled all the world, especially on the sea. They called it our sea. The story tells that ships hit the rocks and many were killed. But you know what? They also tell that at the bottom of the sea, many treasures are hidden. All those who were on those ships that sunk.
Do you know any other stories?
Do you see the tower there, up the road? This is the church named after St. Peter. He rescued another young woman, Tabitha.
What a strange name.
Tabitha, actually Tzvia. She lived near the house of Simon the tanner and died. Then St. Peter came, and by a miracle raised her back from the dead. Christians all over the world believe that here in Jaffa, he had a very important godly vision.
And Tabitha lived where the church is standing?
No. According to the tradition, she lived in another home in Jaffa. The church immortalizes the tale. But at the place where the church was built was previously the Crusader fortress of King Richard the Lionheart.
From the tale of Robin Hood?
Yes. He came from England to fight the Muslim military leader Salah ad-Din. It was a great battle. In the end, they signed an agreement here in Jaffa. Hundreds of years later, Napoleon Bonaparte's soldiers stayed here.
Napoleon? The French Caesar?
Yes, but then he was not Caesar yet, but a commander.
And the cannons that stand here, were they his?
Those? No, but he had similar ones.
Were there any more kings in Jaffa?
In Jaffa stayed Benjamin Zev Herzl, statesman, founder of National Zionism. They called him King of the Jews. Actually, he was not fond of Jaffa. But a few years after his visit to Jaffa, he wrote a book where he predicted a great city rising from the sands.
How is the book called?
Herzl named the book The Old New Land. It was translated into Hebrew with the name Tel-Aviv. And that's why the city before you is called Tel-Aviv. And she did rise from the sands of Jaffa.
I can see all the tall buildings of Tel Aviv. But what are the lower houses with the red roofs in front of those buildings?
Those are the neighborhoods that were built outside the city wall before the foundation of Tel Aviv. The most famous amongst them is Neve Tzedek.
Wall? There was a wall in Jaffa?
Of course. Here on the left is the tower of the Mahmudiyya Mosque that was built by the governor who defended the whole wall and developed the markets. He was called Abu Nabut.
What a good governor.
What good? He was mean and cruel. He held a bat in his hand and, oh boy, if you dared to violate his command.
Was the clock tower on the right also built by Abu Nabut?
No. The clock tower was built at the beginning of the 20th century, about 100 years after the time of Abu Nabut. It was built outside the wall in honor of the Turkish Sultan.
Is it true that the prophet Jonah was also here?
Yes, he was also in Jaffa, only he escaped in the other direction. Everything is told in the Bible. Also, all the stories can be seen and heard at the visitor centers at Kikar Kedumim. Go on up there and see the St. Peter's Church and the house of Simon the Tanner that I've told you about. You can walk through the alleys and see the art galleries, the Ramses Gate, and the statue of the floating orange. If you climb up to the top of the Gan HaPisgah, you can oversee all the Gush Dan area as well as the Statue of Faith. And most important, don't go home before you make a wish at the wishing bridge.
Wish? I do have a wish. Tell me, you said there are treasures in the Sea of Jaffa. Did you ever find a treasure in the sea?
Sure, I found fish. For me, it's better than a treasure. You asked for my help. Did you want something?
I have given an assignment to write about what I can see from the observation point. But it's okay. I can manage it. Thank you.